I had a dream the other day that I went to a gay church that's right down the street. And at this church, the worship was really vibrant and God's presence was in the place. And where my old church would have used God's presence to get down and make people feel awful about themselves, this church made people feel better about themselves, less ashamed of their sexuality and gender, and just better about themselves, period. So I woke up thinking about that, what would it mean if I did just check out the church and see what it was like. I'm not saying the dream's prophetic or anything. It got me thinking if it was possible for a spirituality to exist within an affirming church that made people feel better about themselves rather than worse about themselves. I don't know. I mean, I've never actually been to one of these churches. I stopped going to church 8 years ago. I never felt like I lost anything by not going to church. The only thing I miss is actually the worship services with people. And then there's a sense of community that you get. One of the main reasons that I don't go to church is obviously because I got hurt with them condemning my gender and sexuality. That's the obvious, but that's not the only reason why I no longer go to church. I just have a hard time swallowing the whole organized religion pill for many reasons. And we'll just take one at a time. When I was thinking about the possibility of going to church, I'm the type of person, like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna like commit and get involved in it. And I was like, well, because I have a hard time doing things halfway. Because I could go to church halfway, but if I went there and I liked it, and then the next step would probably be being a church member or something, which would mean that you probably would have to tithe, I would guess. I don't know, I've never gone to these churches. I was thinking about this issue of church and tithing, which is like 10% of your income. Which I was like, if I was to actually tithe, it would be like me and Amy not eating. That's a lot of money. And I think about all these Christians out there that can't get their bills paid or having a hard time financially when they probably are like feeling really, really guilty, like they have to tithe in order to please God. That's definitely an issue. I know that like pastors have to get their bills paid and all of that. 10%? I mean, 10%. If somebody makes like $30,000 a year, 10% would be like basically paying like them $50 to go to their service. That's a lot of money. That's like going to 4 concerts a month. I remember back when I was going to ORU, or Roberts University, a Christian university, I had made this friend. And well, she was my friend up until we got in this discussion about the tithe. And I disagree with her about the tithe. She got so mad at me. She got so mad at me. And then our relationship just went... unpardonable was sin for her. Don't give money to the church. Literally? I mean, I can't like afford to go to church. I mean, like to become a member, or you know what I'm saying, like if I'm gonna go to church, it'd be kind of like an incentive. I mean, first it'd be to check it out, but it's kind of like the hoping to like become part of their community or whatnot. If there are gonna be people that are going to make me feel bad for not giving money, well, I can't afford you. I want to eat. Or pay gas money, pay my school loans, $50 of service. That's a lot of money. Now, while there's any Christians watching my videos right now, you're probably thinking I'm quite greedy because I don't want to tithe. Now the tithe is not just the only reason why I don't want to go to church. um, One of the main reasons is because of the lack of critical thinking skills that I saw at church. I was always the type of person who just wanted to question things. And I remember doing stuff like that and seeing lots of heads tilt. I remember maybe about like 9 years ago, this lady, this older lady, comes up and she talks to me like right before service or whatnot, and she goes, "I know when God's speaking to me about something, it's always shown through confirmation in the pastor and what he preaches." And I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? Because thank God that everything my pastor said wasn't God. Just a bunch of followers. And yeah, it's like, it could be a community that's like a family like. Yeah, I just want to be around people that can think for themselves. Not to mention, I don't believe the Bible is the literal interpretation of God anymore. Or I don't believe taking the literal interpretation of the Bible. We'll just say that I slowly moved away from that girl that said that her confirmation has to come through the pulpit. I was thinking about that and about how much her pastor was influenced by two things. One, money, and two, her approval. If he doesn't preach a message that's going to bring in a crowd, then he's not getting his paycheck. That's a lot of pressure to put on a pastor. It's a biased perspective of preaching a sermon to get money. And I know a lot of them try to aim to not be like that. But it got to influence them somehow. I remember my old pastor, he even noticed this. He said something about how being a man pleaser is as addictive as heroin. I look back now and I'm thinking, you need to put that needle down. If he didn't care about people's approval, then why could he not see that gay people were just as much as part of his community as the others? And he just totally condemned them. And I know not all churches are like that. I've never been to one that isn't like that. But is there the same principles of it? I want to know, are there going to be people there that can't think for themselves, that feel like guilty by not giving money to the church, who are basic man pleasers? Typically, I mean, you see stuff like that when you get people gathered around each other, like in an institution. I like the freedom in my life right now. I don't want to have to go to church and then end up getting involved in some toxic environment that I left behind. I wonder, is maybe they believe that gays are okay and so are trans and all that, but I wonder if there's other unhealthy fundamentalism that's still in the church, even if it's an affirming, accepting church. I remember about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I started getting online at a gay Christian network. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. And they didn't seem to like the idea of me not going to church. that's a whole nother thing I kind of have a problem with, is the idea that often surrounds a Christian community is that you have to go to church. I don't like living my life by a bunch of restrictions and obligations and all of that. It just takes all the life out of it. I remember going to church and then just like hating it. Like, there were times that I really loved it, but then there was times that it was just like, this is what you do, because this is what you have to do. Another issue is the lack of tolerance that I've seen in, well, I was in the fundamental church, but more times than I can name, Christians would get around each other and they would talk about their non-Christian friends and about how they are going to hell. Oh, we need to pray for so-and-so, they'd say, because he's going to hell. This bothers me because I find it really judgmental. Christian gossips and such. I no longer, I don't see the same way as I used to. I don't believe that people have to accept Jesus in their heart in order to go to heaven. I don't believe in a hell. I don't believe that God would require us to forgive our enemies and then He's gonna hold 1,000-year grudges on His. And then also the concept of an unconditional loving God that's also omnipotent, sending someone to hell to burn for all eternity. That's like the most cruelest parent ever. Not to mention, He would definitely be judged, because if He made creation like that, and if He made creation to be able to make a choice that led them to hell or not, then He would probably be a little screwed up on how He made creation. But some people are not going to like it that I said that. But yeah, I don't believe in hell. And I don't believe in going and gossiping about non-believers. It feels good to get, the more I get on like the liberal end, the less I get Christians coming to me telling me about the people that are going to hell. And I'm saying I got this even when I was gay. I get fundies coming to me. We need to pray for so-and-so, they're going to hell. And if you don't know that Christians are like this, you're rather naive. I wonder, and you guys can give your input, are affirming churches like this? Because it's nice being tolerant of others and celebrating differences, like all these different beliefs out there, and celebrating them. I feel like when I used to be in that fundamental belief system of those people going to hell, and I would stay up all night praying for their salvation and such, that fear separated me from them. I wasn't friends with them. I didn't go and listen to them. Since my beliefs about hell and all that have changed, I know a whole lot more about people and what they believe, and it's almost like I all of a suddenly became like a safe person to people. I like being a safe person. I don't like being like a person that people are find sketchy or they're afraid of because I might have judgments. I remember I asked my mom about the whole hell thing when I was questioning it, and she said that God didn't make robots. That's why He made hell, so that we would have a choice on whether to serve Him or not. Sit back now and I think about that. That's still rather controlling. Okay, like taking it from the perspective of like your spouse. They're like, if my wife came to me and she said, "Well, Seth, you have a choice on whether you want to be married to me or not, and if you don't, then you're going to hell." I think I'd resent her a little bit, that she would put that type of ultimatum on me. Another issue that I have with church, and You guys go ahead and give me your input if accepting churches are like this or not. It's the issue of original sin. That man is basically born evil. I no longer believe this way. I believe I'm a humanist, and I believe that man is born good, and he ends up getting corrupt for other reasons. I don't like this whole idea of man being born evil. It's just the shame that you end up feeling like towards yourself and towards creation and people. And speaking of creation, that's a whole other issue. The lack of responsibility that Christians take for their life, of the world around them too. Since there's a heaven, they don't have to take care of the earth. And I remember hearing stuff from Christians that was like rolling their eyes over the liberals that always wanted to give money towards the environment and such. I like atheist morality. Their morals of, this is the only life we have to live. We might as well make it a good life for our kids that are going to come. What I also like about their morals is that they do things because they want to, not because they have a God that's holding the promise of heaven or the fear of hell over them. So when they go and they do something, it feels real and genuine. And I want to be around people that are real and genuine. That's where I feel like my spirituality grows, is when I embrace like a more healthy kind of spirituality that's inclusive, that sees humanity as good, that is tolerant and celebrates differences, that cares for the environment, that will be themselves despite what other people think. That's not money hungry. Like I already told you guys, I like to hear your input. I'm not drawing conclusions on if this is what affirming churches are like. A little scared to step inside a church. I could just go in there and like sit in the back, keep quiet, and then like before service is out, I can just run out. Just kind of get an idea of, are these people safe, or are they just like all the other Christians that I went to church with, except for now they accept gays. I don't know. So my question is it possible for a healthy spirituality to exist within a organized religion atmosphere? That's all. Can we both be in the picture? Or am I cut out? Or are you in there too? Hey.